Hello, everyone. My name is Daniela Zuleta, and I want to welcome you to the Lifestyle Miami podcast. Today, I am interviewing a former cruise member, breakdancer, cruise influencer, YouTuber with over 300,000 subscribers. I want to welcome Justin Alexander.
Thank you for having me.
No, thank you. Justin, I just want to ask you just a little bit about yourself, when and where you were born.
So I was born in Chicago, Illinois, and we moved to Florida when I was 7, just outside of Tampa, a little area called Sefner, Florida, and I've been there ever since. A lot of traveling in between, but Tampa's my home.
Oh, wow. So, Floridian.
Yeah. I mean,
And
7 years old, I'm basically a Floridian. I wouldn't call myself a transplant. I know a lot of people are moving to Florida these days, but I've been here since the beginning.
And as you were younger, what were your childhood passions growing up?
So originally, I used to be obsessed with Free Willy. I wanted to be a marine biologist and work with killer whales. I know everything there is to know about them. And I've always just been obsessed with the ocean. But it's actually kind of funny that passion took me into what I eventually would end up doing originally. I don't come from money. My parents never had any money. They told me that to go be a marine biologist, college would be extremely expensive. And they said, oh, well, you got to figure out a way. And we were at Clearwater Beach. I believe at that time I was maybe 13, and I saw some breakdancers out doing shows. You know, they're flipping over people, and I saw they were making money. In my mind originally, I said, oh, maybe I can just start doing that and make some money to pay for college. So then I started breakdancing, and then I found out there's this massive international community, and then I just kind of fell in love with it. And then lo and behold, when I became an adult, I got a job at a theme park over in Tampa, Busch Gardens, and it just kind of took off from there.
And what was the experience working at Busch Gardens when you first got that job?
It was amazing. I mean, at the time, I was kind of stressed out because so my senior year of high school, pulled around a little too much. I had my son, and at the time, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I said, okay, college, it's gonna be expensive, got to get some loans, military, or I come from a nursing family. I was considering that. So when I got the job, Busch Gardens, I was excited. You know, I said, okay, I get to just spin on my head and flip around and dance for a living. Okay, cool. I mean, the money was okay. It wasn't horrible. And while I was there, I was learning how to do things like talk on a mic, know how to be presentable when it comes to being around people, being in shows, and then I learned other skills like stilt walking while I was there. And yeah, it taught me a lot, and I met some amazing people.
And what was that like? You just mentioned talking on a mic. I know that public speaking is very difficult for most people. What was that like starting at your age? Like, did you just forget about the crowd and you just like said, this is what I'm gonna say?
The thing is that they don't understand about like talking on a mic or being in front of a camera is that nobody is a natural. There are people that may have had skills and experiences that kind of helped them out. Like naturally, when it came to eventually starting my YouTube channel, I had already been performing in front of thousands of people. So it made the transition a little bit easier. But for me, originally, I was nervous. I was messing up. But eventually, I just learned to kind of zone out. So it's just people, you know, just make sure you don't lose your track of what you're talking about. Don't lose focus. Just be presentable. Make sure you're slow. Remember the foundation, the basics that you have learned so you don't lose your train of thought. And just eventually, it'll become not natural, but you'll get more and more comfortable with the experience.
Understandable. And to go into the breakdancing, did you have any like influences, icons at the time that you were like, oh, I want to get into breakdancing?
Well, originally, I think at the time there was a movie that came out called You Got Served. There was a bunch of dance movies coming out, Step Up, and coincidentally, most of the dancers that were there were from Florida. So I would end up during the process when I started training, I would meet with a lot of these guys, and some of the best in the world are from here. My friend Victor, he was a big inspiration for me. He actually placed third in the Olympics. He's a good friend of mine. He's from Kissimmee, Florida, just outside of Orlando, and we talk all the time. But he's literally the best in the world, you know, and he's just a normal guy, you know. So he talks about the good parts about being in this type of industry and seeing the bad, and it's kind of helped me out. There's another guy, Flips. He's from same city, Tampa. I went to King High School down the street from my high school, Tampa Bay Tech, and yeah, he's been in movies. He's done tours with Missy Elliott. He would come to Tampa like once a year to talk to the other dancers, and he just explained to me a lot about like just being in the industry and how to operate.
And then as for cruising, as for becoming a breakdancer, when you were a child, like, was that something that you were like, this is what it's gonna be, you know, I could see myself, you know, next 10 years?
No. I mean, I'd seen international competitions because there are events that happened back then at the time, Russia, all over Europe, all over Mexico, and I'd seen all these events, and I see all these famous like breakdancers, famous b-boys that
Yeah.
were just traveling all over the world. You know, one day they're in New York, and the next day they're in Japan, and I'm like, how are they doing this? But they're getting
Yeah.
flown out, you know, and then they're winning competition. Like, there's more money in it now than there used to be, but back then we used to have a saying, your favorite b-boy is broke, because like you know
Yeah.
you train, you train, you train. It's like in a competition circuit, if most of the time if you don't get first place, you go home with nothing. So imagine training for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, years for an event, and then you play second, and they might throw you like $50 or something like that. But now if that's literally what you do full time, it can become very, very stressful. So on that note, I'm kind of happy I didn't pursue that side of it, because there's the entertainment side and then there's the battle or competition side.
I don't know if you saw the Olympics this year that
Of
they
course I did. Yeah, I mean a lot of my
dancing.
friends were competing in it.
Okay, and you saw
Reagan.
Reagan.
Yeah,
What
yeah, I saw
thought
it. Yeah,
about
unfortunately.
the King?
Yeah, I don't even, I just want to forget it, to be honest. Ruined the whole event.
I was just after she went on to the Olympics and did that act, Australians had a negative impact about that. So
Yep.
I don't know if you felt, oh, like she just, she has some skills, she has something to work with, or.
Not on the, for us as a community, we felt like naturally we try to be supportive. So a lot of people verbally and on social media, they were, but behind the scenes, everybody was very, very angry because we felt disrespected. We said, okay, we have bigger events that go on than the Olympics. I mean, the Olympics itself, there's nothing like it, right? It's a massive event.
Yeah.
But I mean, as far as the attendance, we have a one-on-one event that happens every year in a different country called Red Bull BC1. There's Monster Energy events. There's G-Shock Watch events that goes on in Asia. There's massive events that we go to every year where there's tens of thousands of people in attendance. So as far as the audience, but technically the Olympics is what you would call the world stage, right? Everybody's watching. And we get that opportunity to showcase what we have. And there were some of the most amazing breakers, both men and women, that were there having, they were showcasing. But unfortunately, it got overshadowed by one person that we knew didn't have the skill to be there. She didn't, like, what, she a bad dancer? That you can leave that up to personal opinion and interpretation, sure, perception. But was she at the level of everybody else? Absolutely not. And there's not a single person that would disagree with that.
Understandable. Yeah, I mean, there was just a lot of outcomes whenever it came to viewing it. So I just wanted to know what your thought was behind it, because that was the first time breakdancing has been a part of the Olympics, correct?
Yeah, correct.
So, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, So another thing that I would like to go into is, so you got a job, you're former cruise ship member, and you were working entertainment on the cruise. So let's talk about, which cruise did you start working with first?
It would have been Norwegian. That's when I started my YouTube channel, actually.
Okay. And what was the experience just like, applying for that job?
I actually didn't apply. It was just weird timing. And like for me, I always say, as long as you're working hard and you're trying to do the right thing and be a decent person, life's going to put you where you need to be. Prior to that, I had been working for the Harlem Globetrotters, a really famous basketball company. I've been working there with them for 6 years. Started as a dancer, then went from stage manager to international tour manager, the youngest they had ever had. And we got invited to Europe. But for me, as I kept getting promoted, I just realized I didn't really want that. I figure it's not like how maybe our parents would have seen the Harlem Globetrotters. You've heard of them, right?
Yes.
It's not like how our parents would have seen them, right? I've met Metalarkies, all the people that your parents and grandparents would know, but it got corporate. It's a very corporatized situation over there. They got 3 tours going around the world at any given time. And for me, I realized that I had no value there. I was just a thing, like I'm expendable. It's okay, well, he does a good job, but if he's ever making too much money, we can fire him, we can make an excuse, or if we feel that somebody's better suited, or we just want to change. For me, I just realized quickly that I didn't have any true inherent value over there, other than the fact that I'm able to just keep things organized when we're overseas or wherever we are. So I left, and at the time I was doing car detailing, and I was doing Uber in between all my gigs and shows, because the life of an entertainer is very, very up and down. It's like a roller coaster. 1 minute you have a gig, you make money, and then I got into a car accident, got rear-ended, so my car is total. Can't do Uber, so I'm just struggling. Out of nowhere, this guy that I used to work at Busch Gardens with, his name was Brian Baez. He also worked for Norwegian. Norwegian because they let him go, I believe at the time, budget cuts. He ended up working for Norwegian. Their entertainment headquarters is located in Tampa where I live. And he just randomly contacted me on Facebook. And he's like, hey, can I call you? Or I'm like, yeah, sure. He's like, oh, so do you have anything going on right now? I'm like, not really. Like, are you still dancing? I'm like, yeah, of course. And at the time I really wasn't, but he was like, oh, well, we got this Broadway show on a cruise ship. And as long as you can pass a drug test, I know you have the talent for it, then we can get you on the ship. So it'll be a 6-month contract, $4,000 a month, and I work maybe 2 days a week. And I said, wow, yeah. So we went and took the drug test, everything got done, everything got taken care of. Next thing I know, I'm in a room with all these Broadway people in Riverview, Florida, just outside of Tampa. We got the show done, I get on the ship, and it was, I mean, for me, even the managers, they said, because of my experience with the Globetrotters, like basically living out of a suitcase and traveling here, working on a cruise ship was a lot easier, and I adjusted more than most people, I would say, when I was there.
The environment is, like it's nice. You're going to see different countries every single day.
Yeah.
And what was the training of, working as a performer? Like, was that like you're performing like 5 times a day or?
No. Like, that's why I didn't really want to work on another cruise ship after that, because I know I had the best contract ever. I had my own room, I had room service. A lot of the people, it depends on your position. But for me, we had a show on the first day at sea and then the last day of the cruise. And I was like a what they call a principal character. And like my job, it was a Broadway show, it was a tap dance show. So I was just like a feature. I would come there, spin around for like 2 seconds, and I'd leave. I'd come do like maybe 30 seconds of choreography, and then I'd leave. And then I'd come out and do a backflip, and I leave. I didn't have to do really much of anything. And we had maybe a rehearsal in case somebody got sick, or there was an element that broke during the show. But other than that, I had every port off, every island off, and then most of the day, every day, I didn't have much to do.
How long were you working as that position?
6 months, roughly. It's like August until, I think we got on the ship in August, a little more than 6 months. It's like August through, I think, March, roughly.
Okay.
Late February.
And were you cruising beforehand, like
No.
before going on this? Or
I had never been on a cruise before. I mean, I'd always wanted to. My sister, she's a heavy cruiser. She's been doing it since I was a kid. And my parents, they used to drop her off at the cruise port over in Tampa all the time. And I'm like, I want to do that, but we didn't have money. So that was my first experience being on a cruise ship. But again, I adjusted like that. To me, it was like, this is like the Globetrotters stuff. I actually have a steady place that I can go back to every day. We're not getting on a bus or a plane every day and traveling somewhere. It's nice.
You were working on the cruise. Were you able to get off and like visit these islands?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had every single one off. I mean, there might be some days where they switch the schedule around and we have to go back on the ship and be like at 5, right? When everybody else had to be back for the most part. There'd be our itinerary a lot of time. We'd be based out of New York City, Pier 88, and we'd go to what's the name of this place? Bermuda. Terrible brain fart. But we went to Bermuda, and while we were there, we'd be there for 3 days. So there'd be days that we'd have a show, but so we got to check in for rehearsals or pre-show at 5, stretch, warm up, make sure our costumes and everything are there, and then we do the show. We had 2 shows, one at 7, one at 9, and then after that we're done. That would be 2 days a week that we do that.
That's not bad at all. I mean,
yeah, most people have a different schedule. I mean, again, I say it all the time. I've never met a person aside from like in my position that has done what I'm doing. Because usually, if people are doing they'll be doing like the main show on board, the production show, and then they have this side job, that side job. They have some stuff they have to do with the ship for safety. I didn't have to do any of it, and I'm thankful for it. I really am. I was like, okay, this is so cool. I'm getting like star treatment for no reason. All right, I'm not gonna say no.
Awesome. And then after you were on that trip, like working as that cruise member, like what did you do next?
So I when was it? September. I started a YouTube channel because on the ship there's not much to do. You can go to the gym, you can go see Cozumel, Mexico for the 100th time, and you can party. And on the ship it's a different dynamic. Everybody's hooking up and having a good time. And because again, some people got husbands, wives, boyfriends, girlfriends. Everybody got all this stuff at home, but now they're stuck on the ship for 6 months and they want some intimacy. They want some connection. They're also around beautiful international people with big personalities. It's a recipe for craziness, yes. Right? But for me, I'm like, okay, I don't want to get too caught up in that because I know it can be very, very, very distracting. So I wanted to start a podcast originally talking about travel, but the Wi-Fi was not good on the ship at all. And I said, okay, well, maybe I'll start a YouTube channel talking about what it's like living and working on cruise ships because it's a very interesting environment, And started the YouTube channel, and I was in my room, set up my iPhone 6, and then just started recording, talking about what it's like living and working on cruise ships. I put the video up, and I just left it there. I had no idea how SEO worked or titles. I didn't know about any of that. Didn't put a thumbnail, no nothing, no cover photo. I just put the video up. But within 24 hours, the video got about 50,000 views. My first video ever. I said, oh,
Wow.
I don't know if that's a lot or a little, but I think that's a lot. So I just kept posting. And then after I finished my contract, I was posting throughout the last couple months of my contract. I get home and I was doing Uber. I went and picked up a Kia Optima, 2015 Kia Optima. And I said, okay, I guess I'll get back to Uber so I don't lose the money that I just, saved up during the contract. First guy I pick up is I turned to find out he's a YouTuber, right? And the guy had like 12 million followers, plays video games. I think it was like Fortnite at the time. And we started having a conversation and he asked what I did. And I said, oh yeah, I work on a cruise ship. I'm a dancer. And I don't know why I threw it out there. I said, I got this YouTube channel. It's got, I think at the time, like 8,000 followers. I said, oh, I heard you can make, good money doing it. He said, yeah, you can, dude. Actually, in fact, YouTube just paid for this house, technically, Google. And I'm like, oh, no way. So he's the one that put me on game because I knew you could make money, but I didn't know how it worked.
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, he's like, you're already eligible. There's a threshold to get monetized on YouTube is 1,000 subscribers, 10,000 hours of watch time within a year, right? So I had already reached that threshold. So I applied for it. 2 weeks later, I got a check for, was it like $300 roughly? And I'm like, oh, this is some cool side money. I kept rolling with that. That was usually averaging around $200-300 a month. But then I just kind of ran with that. I was doing Uber, I was doing shows, and I was doing YouTube. And most of the time, it was literally just Uber all day, come back, make a video, wake up at 4 a.m., do it all over again.
And what year would you say that you started your YouTube channel?
I opened the account in September of 2018. And then I started making videos, I believe it was like October, November, roughly.
Okay.
I was making like one video a week. And then when I got home, the channel just kind of died out because I wasn't on a cruise ship anymore. It's like I'm talking about working on a cruise ship and I'm not even on board. So in my mind, because I had videos that were hitting 100,000 views plus, and I said, oh man, imagine at that time. I said, I wonder what I could have made off of that.
Yeah.
So then it just became a struggle. Eventually, I was getting ready to quit. As we fast forward into 2020, here comes COVID, because of the pandemic. Getting ready to quit, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll make a couple more videos. Everybody's asking about like what's going on from the crew perspective, and all my friends are telling me they're getting sent home, all this stuff. So I started doing news, right? And then all my friends that work for the other lines, because in Florida, most of us that are in entertainment or dancers or singers, we're usually working at theme parks, we're working on the cruise ship. And that's how it is. So I talked to all my friends from Royal Caribbean, Celebrity, all the lines, they're all telling me they're hearing, they're either know or they're hearing that they're getting sent home, all of them, because of COVID. And I said, oh, wow. So I explained this to the audience. I said, I broke it down. So it takes months to get on the ship with training and rehearsals and visas and physicals and all the eye exams, all this stuff. It takes about 3 months to get on. We don't know what's going on with this situation. They're talking about sending everyone home. That's never happened before. It'll take months. So 100,000 crew members to 100 different countries with travel restrictions right now. It'll take months. Right. And I said, if that happens, we don't know what's going on with this COVID at the time. It's like March 2020. Like COVID was kind of starting to really come in.
Launched, like,
holy. So COVID really starting to come into the picture, right, in the United States. And I explained to them, I said, I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I think they are going to send everybody home. And I think there's going to be a shutdown. And when they shut down, depending on what's going on with this situation, it'll take 6 months to a year roughly for them to get back up into full operation. Right. Video goes viral within like a week. I had like 500,000 views. At one point, I end up eventually deleting it because I'm like, okay, I didn't know, like, cause it was very, very negative comments. Everybody's like, oh, you're trying to scare everybody. The cruise line should sue you. Why are you scaring people like this? You're lying. You're just trying to get money and views. And lo and behold, roughly a week later, on March 14th, 2020, the industry declares a month. At the time, it was just 30 days, a 30-day global shutdown in operations. Yeah. Right. But it was only a month, but it was enough to verify everything that I was saying. And I knew it was going to be longer than a month. Like, you're not going to send everybody back for a week. 100,000 crew members to a bunch of countries, like 100 different countries. And that's not an exaggeration. Places that most people have never even heard of. Trying to get them back there and say, oh, we'll see you in 2 weeks and we're going to fly you right back out. It doesn't work that way.
And there were people I live in Miami, so like, we have a cruise port here. I read something how like there was a cruise ship, that was out there and that was docked in China and like they couldn't move. That's crazy to even think that, the pandemic, we're always going to remember this as like the plague, of our time.
Crazy times. I didn't agree with a lot of the restrictions that were going on. Like, I couldn't travel. My girlfriend at the time, she was in France, so we ended up having to go to Mexico, stay out there for like 3 months. And then even trying to get over there, it was a hassle. I got denied flights and I was stuck in London at one point. Had to find a loophole and I took the Eurostar train to get over to Paris. And it was a lot to deal with. But yeah, I mean, a lot of crew members got stuck on ships for months on end, and a lot of them weren't even getting paid because their contract had expired. Wow. So, they're freaking out. They're like, okay, well, I'm the breadwinner of my family. family. I'm taking care of my entire family being here. But technically, from a legal standpoint, the cruise lines, they can only give you some side work because your contract is finished and there's no guest to serve. So they're not making money. The crew members say, okay, well, I don't know what's going to happen with my job. My family's struggling at home. I have no idea what my future looks like. So mentally, you can imagine how draining that was. So I spent time talking to a lot of them while they were stuck on board.
That's good that you still kept in touch. So something that I've noticed throughout your channel is that like you are very you'll open your mouth and you'll be like, okay, well, this is what happened on this cruise.
Yeah.
Paint the picture for people, you know. So how does that work? Like, do you find these videos online and cruises that you go on and you're like, oh,
yeah, I mean, I have a couple different resources. There's a lot of people that will reach out to me, especially because the channel's gotten so large now. I think the channel's averaging usually around a couple million views a month. And it's like, in the grand scheme of things, cruising is such a small niche. So to be doing those numbers, it puts me in the category of one of the biggest in the world for cruising. And yeah, people will reach out to me and they'll tell me all these things. And a lot of times I'll do research. I'm looking at TikTok. I'm looking at all of the publications, Fox News, CNN. I'm looking at everybody to see if there's anything going on because I hear rumors or whatever. But yeah, it comes at a cost, right? Like when you become a, let's say, quote unquote, a public figure, you have a lot of people that will obviously try to attack you for everything. Right. And for me, I don't consider myself an influencer. Like for me, I'm not going to do and say what somebody wants me to do and say because they're paying me a couple bucks. It doesn't make sense. I try to be as authentic as I can. There is a game to play on YouTube, but for me, I often get categorized as like the negative cruise YouTuber, right? I just talk about bad things. No, I talk about real things. Even in my reviews, I try to be as honest and straightforward to the best of my ability. I talk to people and I get their opinions. Somebody jumps off a cruise ship or goes overboard, I'll talk about statistics and, ways to avoid it. Like, for example, there'll be a lot of times where most situations that happen could have been avoidable, fights and all that stuff. Like, I was like, just be careful who you sail with is usually what I go to. So, okay, if you and your significant other are not doing okay, maybe a cruise isn't advisable. You spending thousands of dollars to try to rekindle the flames, where if you guys aren't doing well, you guys are drinking and you're stuck with that person for 3 weeks and, if one of the parties is tired of it, next thing you know, you've paid all this money and this girl just ran off with, some officer or somebody they met on the cruise. I've seen it. I've seen it happen a million times.
I believe it. And I don't know if you remember this, but there was a cruise ship in, I believe, the Bahamas, and a kid jumped off of it, and all of his friends told him, jump, 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 or whatever. He ended up going into the sharks.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's the cruise's fault, but like to look at like everybody else in the room, you kind of just think like, who are these friends, So that's something that's important to consider when going on a cruise. Is like, who are you taking on this trip,
Yeah, well, so it actually wasn't, they had just graduated high school. I think they're getting ready to transition to college. I forgot his name.
Yeah.
Apologize. But the thing is, though, it wasn't technically a cruise ship. They were on some like pirate ship over in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
And when it comes to stuff like that, for me, like I'm not afraid to call the cruise lines out when something goes wrong, right? I'm like, yeah, the cruise line could have done something to prevent this, right? But when it comes to like the man overboard, it's like, unless they're going to treat everybody like children and put nets up and all this other stuff and basically block the entire experience and the point of a cruise anyway, like be able to see the ocean and all that. I don't like when stuff like that happens. I don't necessarily blame the lines because we're all humans. We are all capable of making our own decisions. It's like, yeah, you could maybe put some fault or at least, say something in bad taste of his friends that were egging him on to do it, right? But he was still a full-fledged grown adult. Again, he was young, right?
Yeah.
18, 19, brain still developing. However, I would imagine if I'm out somewhere and I'm over at the Grand Canyon and my friends are like, oh, it's not that far down. Just jump off the cliff. It's not a big deal. And I did it. I would imagine somebody's not going to sit here and be like, oh, well, you guys dared him to do it. It's on me at the end of the day. I still did it. And yes, unfortunately, over in the Bahamas, it's known for it to be, it's shark-infested waters.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't know that. Sure, that would make sense and that's plausible. But at the end of the day, this kid, he still did it. Yeah. And again, I'm not saying, I'm not trying to victim blame or anything like that, but it's kind of like, that's just the reality of it. He still did it. Like, you can't turn around and blame the company.
People have to take control of their own actions,
Yeah. Yeah.
And
like there's nothing stopping you from doing certain things, I get it. If there was a situation where there wasn't a balcony or like some type of railing for the ship and he just slipped and fall, okay, maybe there's an argument there for the cruise line, for the company. But there was a railing, he literally hopped over, and I saw the video and I'm like, dude, like he did that on his own free will.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but what can you do?
So something that I really enjoy while watching your content online is that you are authentic and you're very honest with riskier things. So I just wanted to go into, with all these cruises, how many countries have you visited?
Well, so total, I mean, aside from obviously working for the Harlem Globetrotters and the cruises, I've been to 72 countries so far. Yeah.
And what is your favorite cruise line so far?
It depends what for. I always get asked that, right? I mean, given I'm a social person, I like to party, I like to have a good time. Virgin's good. I love Virgin's. Good time, always. Carnival, I like Carnival. Carnival gets a bad rap. They call it Walmart of the season, all this. But I say, look, Carnival's like the average Joe's cruise line. To me, that's
Yeah.
the only cruise line, or one of the few, that I can go on where you don't have people that think they're the king and queen of the cruise ship because they paid an extra $5,000 for a suite. You go on the other ones like Royal Caribbean and NCL, they have like the Haven and the Royal Suites and all this, and they get treated a lot differently, which is understandable if you pay the money, sure.
Or the
Right? They got
Rockstar
their
Suite or whatever.
yeah, they got their butlers and all this stuff, and it's like, but they
Yeah.
also kind of look down on everybody else. Which,
Yeah.
there's part of it that I understand. If I go VIP in the nightclub, right, in a joking way, right, I'm also gonna
Yeah.
be like, oh, look at the peasants, sure, right?
Yeah.
It's your money, you've paid for
But
the
we're all on the
experience.
same cruise.
Yeah, but that's what I mean, right? I get it. You can take in that moment, but there are some people that do this and they truly believe that they are better than those people,
Yeah.
not simply for the fact that they paid for a better experience. They will look at the people. For me, if I go VIP or I get a suite, oh yeah, no, I'm gonna wear my robe all over the ship and have a good time, but I'm not gonna look down at somebody else because it may not even be an issue of money, right? For them, if they're taking 20 cruises a year like I am, right? Why would they go spend 15 grand on a room when they can just space it out and say that 15 grand can go to 5 other cruises in a regular standard balcony or just like a regular porthole like Ocean View room?
That's very true. No, they're still nice, you know?
Yeah,
And
yeah, of course.
what is your favorite country that you have traveled so far?
Hands down, Ireland. People always ask why. Ireland, Ireland, Ireland.
Ireland? Okay,
Yeah.
and why?
Well, because Ireland is exactly what you think it would be. A bunch of people fighting, getting drunk. But there's some of the most loving people that you'll ever meet over there. Everybody, like, they, even if you just meet somebody, from the cab driver to talking to somebody at one of the pubs, they're talking to you like they've known you for years, right? They're friendly people. And for me, so the first time I got over there, I had a friend that actually helped me out on my YouTube channel when I was working. We used to work on the ship. She's Irish and Turkish. She's one of my best friends. And her parents and they invited me over to Belfast, Ireland, after my cruise ship contract concluded. It's perfect timing. And I go there, right? Like, I couldn't think of any other time I go to Ireland. You know, to me, it wasn't on my list, but I was like, oh, yeah, I'll go to Ireland, sure. And I go over there, and they take me over to this pub, and the first thing I see outside is two dudes fighting. It's the most stereotypical thing that I've ever heard of in my life. When I'm like, okay, this is the most Irish, right? So here's the thing: these guys are out fighting, and the dude knocks the guy on the ground, right? I'm like, oh man, this is about to get bad. The dude stops, it's on top of him, stands up, reaches out his hand, and says, "Get up," right? He's like, okay, we settled our differences. The fight's over. Let's go inside. Let me buy you a beer. And that's exactly what he did. He went inside, bought the man a beer. The guy's nose is bleeding, like, and he literally goes to the bartender, grabs some tissue, and they're literally just hugging each other like they've been friends their whole life, and they were just outside beating each other up.
Like a cartoon.
No, it was insane. And then it was another situation because again, like the way it all went down to me, I'm like, wow, the United States could never. So
No.
we were at another pub over in it's just outside of Belfast, Ireland, called Newry. And my friend Lisa and her sisters, they're all very attractive, very very attractive people.
Yeah.
And some old man comes up to me and he's like, he calls me the N word, like you don't need to be hanging around these girls, right?
Wow.
Next thing I know, I'm telling you, they were all like 6'2", 6'3", three big lumberjack looking dudes go over to the man and they literally grab him by his collar from the back and start walking him out. His other friend comes over to me. He's like, look, I just want to let you know I apologize for that. We don't tolerate that here. You are welcome. We're going to take this man out. We're going to make sure he's not coming back tonight. And then I'm going to buy all of us a pint. Is that okay with you?
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
impressive. No, but over there, you know, they'll have their, what do you call it, their pub bar fights.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it, you know.
I'm telling you,
Over
it's
here,
such a good time. It's
America,
such a good time.
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to touch on this, but America right now, like, it's tough, you know. So we're
Oh, I
in a
know.
tough situation, and even with whatever the news and the media is like reporting, so it's really tough to
It's divisive.
have the
I don't.
same
That's
reality. But I really
Yeah.
love Europe because like everyone's friendly, you know, like it's more slow pace. That's
Yeah.
how I would feel, you know.
Yeah.
America's we're so fast. We need instant
instant gratification. Yeah, no, I
numbers.
know. I
All
mean, the
of
thing is, like, I would tell my friends all the time because I mean, like, for me, if I didn't have my son here and my business and everything, like, I don't want to retire here, right? America is a great place, but with how expensive it is and in the mentality, and it's not necessarily wrong, but for me, I'm like, okay, yeah, the United States is a young country in the grand scheme of things, especially the European countries, right? We know this, and the way I look at it is, okay, the United States is young. It does have a pretty dark history, but it was built off of entrepreneurship entrepreneurship. And I would tell my friends all the time, like, look, if you don't want to make a decent amount of money, especially in a place like Miami, for example, it's expensive. That, you know, if you don't want to make a significant amount of money, if you're not trying to grow a business, there are better options for you. I'm not saying America is a horrible place, but you have to grind here.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to go live in Montana, middle America, even then, it's completely different lifestyle. When I go to Europe and you go to even these city sitters, it's quiet and peaceful, and everybody's just living their life. They're not sitting here complaining about what they don't have. This is like one of the few countries outside of maybe like a few places outside of like a Dubai or Monaco where everywhere you look, everybody needs the newest thing. They have the newest iPhone. If you have a phone that's older than 2 or 3 years, you know, it's a fossil. You know, if you don't have the newest car, if you don't have one leased, it's kind of like that's how it is here. Everybody's always comparing, and everybody wants the newest, nicest thing. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with that inherently, but some people don't want that.
Yeah, it's just a completely different lifestyle, you know. So talking about lifestyle, so you are still traveling and your main focus is just on focusing on the YouTube, or is there any other projects that you're also focusing on? What is it?
Primarily it's YouTube. For me, I'm like, YouTube could retire me. I've seen, you know, so many big names and stuff, and I've seen what it can do. I mean, even now, right? Like, I'm not really big on money. We just need it to survive. You know, it's a tool, and it's nice not being broke. I've been homeless twice, you know, and it's like when you start making a decent amount of money when you're looking at checks, you're like, oh my God, wow, okay. It definitely, it's important, right? Money's not everything, but it affects everything, and that's how I look at it. Right. So when I have this ability now, the money and the resources to travel wherever I want, whenever I want, and I can make my own hours if I decide, which I often do. If I'm not feeling it that day, I don't have to ask anybody. I don't talk to anybody. So for me, I'm like, I prefer YouTube over TikTok and all these other platforms, because to me, you can actually, in my opinion, it's more established and you can give true value there. Right. TikTok, you can only do so much with a 1 second, 1 minute clip. But yeah, no, it's my main focus. I mean, right now I have plans to expand. I'm also a luxury travel agent as well. I have a team that kind of books most of the stuff for me, because it's a hassle trying to deal with people that follow me and they usually just want to talk. But we have a couple projects just to expand. I have multiple channels, so that's the goal. I have a friend of mine who's now my editor, but we're just going to expand. I mean, I have goals, but that's for the gist of it. My primary focus is YouTube.
And what advice would you give to your younger self?
Just be patient, because I've had so many, like, between, like, again, like, I wouldn't wish that on nobody. Being a 17-year-old father, you know, you feel like it's like, I love my son, I do, right? Me and him, we're like this and we talk every day, but I got that experience back then. It was stressful. It was stressful beyond belief, right? He's like, okay, what do? I have another human that I'm responsible for, right? And I'm not making any money, and I don't know anything about the world. I'm a kid, right? 17. So I would just say, like, be patient, because for me, you know, we've all had these moments where it's like something will happen, break up, or you lose your job or whatever, and in that moment, it literally feels like the end of the world. You know, we've all had that. Let's think about our first breakup. We were heartbroken, right? You feel like this, nobody's gonna ever be like her again. I'll never be happy with him without him, right? We have that moment, and I look at that mentality. I'm like, okay, yeah, hindsight's 20/20, right? So looking back, I would just say to my younger self, just stay the course. You know, work hard, keep trying to do the right thing to the best of your ability. Nobody's perfect, and eventually, as long as you're doing all these things, life is gonna put you where you need to be.
Great, that's really good advice. And so, Justin Alexander, I just wanted to say thank you so much for being a part of the Lifestyle Miami podcast, and I'm really glad to have you on here. Where can people find more about you?
So the Ship Life on YouTube. I also have a Ship Life Instagram, but then I also have secondary channels. It sucks because I started everything out like so many years ago. I have different like brands, but primarily people will call me Jay. I have a channel called Jay the Nomad. That's my primary Instagram as well. If you type in Jay the Nomad, it should show up as Jay the Nomad Official, and it'll be up over there.